And we are back. First stream this morning ended a little bit earlier than I wanted to, so we are back for a second stream this evening, specifically for the design stuff. My actual original plan was to play some video games tonight, but instead we're back for designs. So in case you missed the morning stream, go back and watch it. Maybe watch it tomorrow after I'm done editing out the dead spot where I had to take a moment. But anyway, we're entering into the next Prusa Flash contest, which is game tokens. And after consideration, I decided to go with chess pieces because, as I said earlier, that is on brand for the channel at the moment. I'm mostly streaming chess. And the other thing is that, well, I shouldn't say the other thing. The other things that we decided this morning is that I'm going to go with a geometric pattern. This is just roughing out for the pieces right now. So this is the rook and this is the bishop. Rough shapes for them to start out with. And beyond the geometric design, the other things that we wanted to incorporate here is that pieces for storage and transportation purposes should be able to interconnect, interlock, combine into one piece. So that's one thing we're working through right now. And beyond that, I don't know if there's anything else to note. Just jump into continuing my thought process, which one of those things I was thinking about this a little bit this afternoon after I ended the stream. And originally we were talking about putting a hole in the center here and allowing another piece to nest up through the center, but that was based on the idea that the rook and the bishop would be nesting opposite each other. So if I let's align these really quick. Align that to that. And it's not moving. Well, that was good. Okay. Let's try this again. Forward. Oh yeah, for the record, this is a second file that I made up that we can import all the pieces into so that we can nest them. Let's try this again. We are clicking components. Alright, there we go. So I'm going to flip that and then modify align that guy to that guy. So this is how we were looking at nesting it before. And then I was looking at putting a hole in the center here to slide, for example, the king and the queen through the center there, so they take up the space on the inside. And towards the end, I started talking about this, and just to clarify, that's no longer how we're doing this. So we're going to have the queen or the king. It doesn't necessarily matter, I don't think. Well, actually, it kind of does. It kind of does because of how this is laid out. But we're going to interpose I'm going to say the king over top the rook here, doing exactly what I just showed you, just the king instead of the bishop. And then the queen goes upside down on top of here. So in that case, because I did not make this clear in the previous video, we won't be putting holes through the center of these. And then our only difficulty is, again, getting the horsies working. Oh, actually, I take that back. The king and queen, because we have two bishops, go on the bishops, and the horsies go on the rooks. That's what we decided. Sorry. I was distracted at the end of that stream, obviously. So anyway, that's where we're at. And once we have all the pieces roughly fitting into place, then I will go ahead and start stylizing them instead of having these just bland blocks. And the only other thing to mention is that I was thinking about it, and basically, actually, let's go all the way forward here. So pretend instead of this being a rook and a bishop, this is instead the bishop and the queen, let's say. My thought is if we look at this, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, right? 4 sides. So there's 8 pawns. I'm thinking maybe the pawns hold stuff together along the bases. So we put bases together and then the pawns clip onto the bases to hold them together. That's a thought I have right now. I don't know how well that's going to work, but we'll see what comes of it. So let's move on to a new piece. And we drive just like we were doing earlier. Click, make sure we have all the parameters, and hit OK. And now we will go ahead and save this one really quick. And we'll do the queen next. And we have a plane for this, if I recall correctly. It was just this morning, so hopefully I'm remembering things correctly. And what I'm going to do is, because the queen's going with the bishop, I'm going to go ahead and... Actually, yeah, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and import the bishop into that one. I don't really need the parameters, but whichever. Existing design. Okay. Queen. Select. Alright. And I will go ahead and leave it right there for now. So, let us move this sketch forward. Open the sketch back up and project the bishop's geometry, and I'm gonna project the whole entire body this time. Let's click over here, body, click that body. That way I get absolutely everything, because again, the geometry on the bishop is going to change eventually when I flesh that out, so I want to make sure that updates on this sketch. And let's turn the other bodies off and start drawing. And actually, it only did... That's interesting. Because my plane's on the top here, I would think that it would... Actually, here we go. We'll do an intersect instead. That should work. Much better. Okay, that's what I was looking for. I was looking for this, what you call it. And obviously, if we do different geometry higher up on the bishop, that won't intersect and therefore won't be displayed here. But we will cross that road when we get here. At least we can get started. So, as I mentioned earlier, the our plan here is I want to make a star shape. And the geometry is going to have to be somewhat well defined, so let us take that, and it's one of these things. It's probably going to end up being a yeah, one of those. Interesting thing is, yeah, I think this is how I did it last time. I believe, whoops. Click there, click there. Whoop, no, okay. This is how, if I recall correctly, the last time I needed to bisect an angle, I bisected the angle was by putting an arc in here, doing the midpoint of the arc right there, and then declaring, oh, actually, not like that. That would be incorrect. We want to just do that and then have that intersect with this line. And, whoops, Control Z. Interesting. Okay. Maybe this wasn't how I did it last time. Okay, may not have been how I did it last time. So, instead, I'm just going to do this. Let me just put 15 for now. We got to figure out what shape actually fits in here in order to keep it geometrically symmetrical. So there's that, and let's see. So this is, let me go. If I, I'm trying to figure out how exactly I want to define this. Because this will go here. Actually, yeah. So if I'm thinking about this correctly, I want to bisect this angle. So this angle is going to be, that's vertical, that's halfway. So this should be 45. Yeah, 45. So I want to bisect 45 here. 45 divided by 2. Alright. And that should be... And yeah, and then it's just a matter of how steep we want these guys, because that line now is guaranteed to make the shape we want. And actually I can go ahead and turn this back into a regular line. And we don't need that one right now, because we should be able to circle pattern this around. So the question is I guess I can't think of any good reason. I guess I could think of a reason. So if I make this 15, right, then this is 9. Okay, let's make this 30, because these two interact. It's one of those things. I want something of an angle here. It's but this angle obviously is going to determine this angle over here. So I gotta decide what angle specifically is too shallow for my tastes and which angle is just fine. The next, I think I will just extrude this for right now. Yeah, I think I'll just extrude this for right now all the way up. In theory, we could do a circular body upwards and then top it with this star shape, but for the time being, I will go ahead and just keep it a star shape all the way up. Again, we're just roughing at this point, so we should be, you know, just keep things simple. And top, oh, that's what I gotta do. Change parameters, get the parameters back on stream, and we need chest piece, users, overall height. Okay, now we can do this. Body, from object, and overall height, and we want this to be a join. In theory, that was a join. Oh, the timeline just did not move. That is all. Okay. Got myself scared a little bit there. Alright, so modify pattern, circular pattern, feature, this extrusion, axis, that axis, and we want 6, 7, 8. No, wait. Count. 1, 2, yeah. So 2 per side, and 4 sides is 8. Yes. And again, we... Huh. Okay, that is a really interesting pattern. Okay, so funny thing is, I actually really like that. So I needed to mirror is what I needed to do. Because I had the mirror lines, I didn't actually have a circular pattern. I had a mirror line is what I was using there when I designed it. So that was a little bit of a silly on my part, but that is a nice pattern. The only issue is that it is obviously intersecting the bishop in the corners. We can't really fix that. I mean, aside from just cutting it. Alright. As much as I like that, for right now, we will revisit that and just do it the correct way for right now, and then we'll revisit actually stylizing it later. So that feature, mirror plane, okay. Modify. Actually, I should be able to circular pattern this now, right? If I goof this up again, it will be hilarious. And this is only going to be 4 now. Does that look right? Yeah, that's right. Yep. Okay, there we go. So, we're calling this the queen. The king is going to have the same exact movement patterns, but I think rather than having these ones extended all the way out, the cardinal directions extended all the way out, we're gonna go ahead and keep all his stuff short. Turn that sketch off and save. Okay. Derive the queen into existing design, all pieces. Save. And then we can modify, align top of that. Actually, yeah, we can use top center. Top of that to that and flip. Maybe not. Huh. Why you doing that? Flip, modify. Let's turn the rook off. Modify, align. Try this again. That to the center of that. There we go. And capture. And I will go ahead and duplicate this bishop. Whoops. Make a copy first. And actually it should be components. A bishop. Create copy. Duplicate it. Okay. And now we're ready for the king. Chess piece. Create, derive. Yoinks. Include parameters. Good. Modify. Change parameters. Grab the user parameter. Overall height. Okie dokies. And then come down here to construction just like we did before. And let's grab the bishop again actually. Control Z. Create. Derive. Yeah, save. King. Oh, not drive this. Drive bishop. Drive bishop. Existing design. Okay. King. Select. And then we can come in here to the sketch and intersect the bishop. The bishop. Please, bishop. Okay. And look at the top. Highlight that. Turn that stuff off. And throw our lines back in here like we did before. I'm going to go ahead and throw this line in here now. And that line in there. And this one's going to be construction line. And that is going to be our, whatchamacallit. And this is 45.5. 45 by 2. And what do we call the queen here? 30 degrees on that one. Okay. And so I think, let's see, which one actually looks better? 30 degrees there. No, I don't like that one. So we will call this one 30 degrees over here. There we go. And we can finish sketch. Actually, that is a construction line to make extruding easier. And we go object here, just like we've done a million times before, overall height, and join. And then we can go ahead and create mirror, that feature, that plane. Okay. Create pattern, circle, these features, that axis, and 4 is good. All right, there we go. And there's the rough shape for the king done. And let's go ahead and save. And derive, derp, king, existing, okay. And all pieces, select, modify, align the top of U with the center of U, and flip it. See, that one aligned correctly. Silly. All right, and we can capture direct position. Alright, so that is the bishops, king, and queen roughed out. Again, we'll add some stylization to it later. And that just leaves the horses before we get to the pawns. So, chess piece. You guys know all know the drill here, rather. Parameters are good still. Being a little bit paranoid. Let's save this. This is the horsey. And this one is going with the rook, so let's derive the rook into here. Existing design, okie dokie. And this is the knight, select. And we will do exactly as we did before, top of base and intersect on the rook. And construction line and turn everything off. Q. Alright, so again, horsey. So how do I want to... So what we want out of this is because the horsey was kind of vague in my mind still, this is what we want. This... Yeah, let's do that. Perpendicular, and then, whoops, wrong hotkey. Connect there. Hey, no, give. There we go. All right. Now, the trick here is that this, in theory, needs to connect to both. Like, it's not technically... Yeah, maybe this was wrong here. That might be wrong there. This may be more appropriate. That, and then we do another one. Yeah, stop snapping. That, and that perpendicular to that, and that collinear to that. And we'll go ahead and do this just to make sure. And we'll make these collinear. Sounds alright to me. And now comes the tricky part. Because we also need... don't do that. I don't want you defined as relative to that. I want you defined as parallel to that. And obviously, over here, this is all just one. I'm trying to decide whether or not it's necessary to divide it up. But the point being is that this guy, and again, this is going to be difficult here, but that needs to connect there. And then over on the other side here, in case you can't tell what I'm doing, this is basically the 8 movement heights. Well, I'm drawing 4 of them at any rate, of the horsey, the knight. So you got a straight here, and then a diagonal move. It's one of these things where I'm trying to think, because everything's so congested in here, which is why I kept saying, well, this is going to be difficult, and I'm mumbling to myself. It's going to be really congested in here with all this stuff going on. And if I'm guessing, but let me actually look to be sure. Yeah. So the distance that this foot already is only 1¼ millimeter, which is tiny, 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 tiny. So I don't think we can do squares here and keep it legible. I think we're going to have to do something a little different. Let's go to the drawing pad really quick. Let me escape out of there so I don't accidentally click something. Alright, drawing pad time. Yes, and it's nighttime, so everything's a bit darker. And that's my camera. Sorry if that just made a bunch of noise in your ear. Or not my camera, my microphone. Alright, so let's just draw the knight thing really quick. Here is a set of squares on a chessboard. Doink, 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 doink. Alright, there we go. And I did not draw the correct number of squares for the horse to move. So let's add on. And I should have extended this all the way down. Alright, and now our horse is right here. K for horse. So our moves are that, 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 there, and there, and obviously there. So we got these Y shapes here. Obviously, we're on the rook. So the rooks, if we convert this to a piece, let's say, the rook has something like this, and we kind of got to split the squares in half here. But it's like 1.5 squares in each of these directions. So that technically should be a little bit lower. So this is what we're... Oh, shoot. I just drew it wrong. This is the bishop. Interesting question. Then, should we swap to the bishop? Because actually looking at this right, this fits better on the bishop, I'm realizing as I draw it. Let's draw the rook really quick. And yeah, we gotta draw it eyeballed. K for horse. Oops. Little squished here, but alright, and the rook has this. This-ish, this-ish, and this-ish. So, obviously, when you draw out the horse's movement, it's not quite, obviously, the alternative to drawing it. So I'd normally look at it like this. Technically speaking, you can go like that and like that. You technically could draw in diagonal first and then horizontals, or yeah, cardinal direction is the other way to look at it, technically speaking. I just normally don't visualize it like that. So I normally visualize it as like this. But if I change my perspective, this is actually technically correct, right? I'm not going stupid. This square is the same square. B1, C, D1. Yeah, that should be the same one. So yeah, okay. I was thinking... Alright, let's do it this way then. Let's do it this way. That's not the way I normally think of it, but that works a heck of a lot better. So let's swap over to Fusion. And it's a good thing I got the pencil out, because I would have tried brute forcing this guy right here, and there was a much better way. So we will go ahead and do this instead. You should go parallel to that. You should go parallel to... Alright, fine. I'll make you parallel. Make you parallel. And since I started working this direction anyway, I'll use this as a mirror line. Let's get you clicked here. Actually, purr, 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 purr. Yeah, you know what? I'm gonna do it like this for now. I was thinking whether or not I shouldn't put a feature in here. You know, whether that's a circle or a square in here, and then work off of that. For right now, I'm just gonna use. I'm just gonna go directly from this line and go straight out, and we'll see where we end up. So, do this guy, that guy. I'm gonna do this and not parallel. You there. You collinear is what I want. Okay, fine. Fine. Give me trouble. I don't care. Collinear. Yeah. Why didn't you want to be collinear? You're actually bothering me now. That one. Sketch geometry is restrained, huh? Alright, there we go. And then we can just arbitrarily call these 3. Yeah, we'll just arbitrarily call those 3. Alright. And I drew these guys instead of just turning these guys solid. So I didn't actually need to draw this. I could just draw this like this. And I think I will. Yeah, alright. Anyway, back to 3. There we go. And let's see how this looks. Body. We did not on the horsey yet. Do this. Chest piece, user parameter, overall height. Okay. Try that again. Show body. Object. Overall. And join. And now we will pattern, circle, feature, select. Now you will notice, I'll admit, that that I did not draw only half of this like I did for the other one. I'm you know, it's a thing that happened. And again, I don't have a center, an actual correct one to go off of, so just use the origin for now. And this is a heck of a lot larger than, okay, what did I say the rook and bishop are on these lengths? Oh, they are actually 3.5. Huh, interesting, because that looks a heck of a lot thicker than... Did I screw something up? $3mm. Why does this look so much? 3.5, huh? For some reason, the knight's movement pattern looks a whole lot thicker than... I mean, I guess it's because it's all connected. It's got extra material. I guess that's all it is. Okay. Okay, I'll take it. I accept. Alright, well, that's where we're at for the horsey. And we'll go ahead and drive that. For now, existing. And we still got our parameters, even though we don't really need them for this one. Now, where's the rook? Rook. And we will go ahead and actually, we'll align this first. Modify, align. You. Turn you off. You. Turn you back on so I can see what I'm doing, because this should be a flip. Okay. And that's where we're at. And now we just copy components, that, and whoops, cancel. Forgot to hit the copy first. Great copy. There we go. Let's do that. And now we have all 8 major pieces. So we got the rook and horsey over here, rook and knight, and then 2 bishops and the king and the queen. Take a sip of coffee and realize that we left those sketches on, which looks ugly. Fix that, save, and update. I did hit update. Why are you still showing the sketches? Okay, there we go. Alright, so that's where we're at right now, and let's go ahead and just do this for right now. There's a couple things here. One, this shape that we have, this trapezoidal shape. Actually, let me create joints here. As built joint. There and there. As built joint. There and actually, let's not do rigid. Let's not do rigid because we want to be able to explode these later. That and slider. And we will turn the knight off for a half second. And we will just go with that. That looks fine. And actually, that instead. Turn the knight back on. That is now sliding in and out. Good. And no, it looks like it copies them individually. So, as built joint, whoops. U and U. And turn the knight off. Do that. Okay. Modify as built joint. U and U. And use turn the king off. Use that. Okay. And last one. That and that. Turn the queen off. And voila. All our pieces are now connected and we can now raise and lower them. In fact, let me go ahead and do this just because I'm expecting them all to function at the same time. Can I select all 3, 4? No. Okay. Whoops. Motion link, that and that. Okay, and motion link, that and that. And that should be, yep, all 4 at the same time. So now we can turn a lot of these off and we will be able to explode this manually, or all 4 of them at the same time. Cool. Alright, so that is that. And now we can go ahead and, for the time being, I want to just snug all this up. Modify. Align. And I probably should have snugged it up late. Nah, it's not set necessarily. What you doing off center, boy? Yeah, I guess that dot. Okay, sure. Modify, align. That dot. That dot. Okay, there we go. So now this is a nice little block, and again, the pawns will have unless the pawns connect. I'm trying to think. So the pawns. It's an interesting question where to put them. Let's capture a position really quick, because they're best off on the bases because the bases are uniform. So then we don't have to worry about the pawns having to conform to these various shapes here. But because this is all symmetrical, they could. And in fact, if I rearrange this so it's symmetrical across the diagonal, then each side, let's go ahead and do that. Let's modify this. That will go over here for now. And then I want modify a line. I want you over there instead. No, wait. I'm getting myself confused. Nope. I want modify align that to that. Yeah, there we go. Modify that there. Nope, not like that. That is actually incorrect. That one to, yeah, we could just do that one. No. All right, don't be difficult. Don't be difficult. That to that. There we go. All right. So now if we look on this, you see we have this shape here, the inset here, flat surface there, flat surface there, inset there, flat surface, inset. So if you just rotate the pawn, it could line up. So this is another option. So we could have, for example, the base of the pawn here meshing this way with that, and then the pawn itself, I don't know if that's as good as the other way of doing it. I was going to say the pawn itself because, and let me actually get the dimensions here. I assumed it would fit, but let me actually get the dimensions. From there to there is less than 2 inches. It's 33 millimeters. Let me turn on inches for you. So 1.3 inches. So our overall height is 2 inches. And the base is 6 millimeters. So 33 plus 6 is 39, which is less than 54. So the shape of the pawn could fit in here. We could have a little extension of the pawn that feeds into these empty sockets here. Obviously, it's going to have to be shaped specifically for the queen. That way they're interchangeable between the queen and the king. But that's one way we could do it. And then it clips, then it overlaps here. Well, not on the top there, but, it overlaps across this face and hooks on the top, let's say the top of the pawn in here. So that's one way of doing it. May not be the best way. Again, it seems very simple to create a pawn that instead sits flush with this face right here. That seems more simple, and it may be more correct. It's also worth noting that, let's see here. Okay, so that's 38, and we had 39 going this way, including the base. The reason I'm bringing this up is that a pawn should be shorter than a major piece. So, what is this minus the, what's the distance in here? Well, it's 50 minus 6, right? So that's 40 something, 44, yeah. Makes sense. Yeah, so if we can do 39, 39 is smaller than 45 rather. Smaller than 44, 44.8, 45. So that would be shorter, but it has to be a little bit longer in order to catch the side. So if we have the pawn draping over here to hold these together, it's not quite long enough. Interesting. Let's go ahead and drive this into the existing design. All pieces. Because I want to see how this looks. Create collection. Let us align this to why is my knight not visible? What if we align you there and flip you? Flip you? Rotate you? Oh, you're invisible right now. Why are you invisible? Whoops. And that is not what I wanted, but it's an interesting idea, at any rate. Definitely not what I wanted. Okay. I'm just looking at it because I'm still trying to get ideas here. So it was worth, considering for just a half a second, even though it's pretty obviously way out there. Let's go ahead and align that and that. And then I'm just going to manually move you over like that. And we will modify align. Oh, actually, you know what? Yeah, okay. We should probably... Okay, so yeah, this is never going to actually mesh up here, I just realized, because we didn't actually make this a 45 here. So, problem with this, obviously, the way this is set up, if I'm doing it this way, is that if you look at this, that is taking up a whole lot extra space. It's more than half the base because the pawn in theory is in the center of the base here. So I'm not sure how much I like this anymore. It may not be terrible, but we probably want to consider something else. Other things to consider. So other things to consider as actually I'm thinking now, changing the shape of the pawn base such that the pawn bases could actually link together. And then so back to, there's 8 pawns and 8 major pieces, right? I was thinking, going back to our original idea of having a hole in here and then having the pawns feed through these bases while the bases of the pawn, which are then on the outside here, interconnect. So that's just yeah, I mean, it's not really going to work necessarily. Basically what will need to happen is we'll need to leave space for the pawns like this, because otherwise the pawns will collide with each other. I mean, is it the stupidest idea I've ever had? I don't know that's necessarily the stupidest idea I've ever had. The one issue with designing it in such a way that it takes advantage of all this is that you have to have it in a correct pattern, whereas if the pawns are all identical and interlock with each other, then in theory, instead of rearranging like I did so that we had bishop, rook in a square pattern there, the other way, we wouldn't need that. So the only question is then whether or not it's worth doing this. You know what? I am actually kind of alright with going this route. Even though, so basically, right, we said this was, I'm going to go ahead and capture position here. Basically, we said this was 44.8. So if this is 44.8, we want the pawn to be, let's say, 30, right? Which means that this, let me modify, align that to that, and then we're going to move it. Whoops. That to that. Dude, what are you doing? All right. We'll bring you back down. 0. Okay. And then I'm going to go up 30. So if I go up 30, that should be 30 between here and here. That is 30. So if the height of this pawn is 30, then this is the overall height that we're looking at. And the overall height we're looking at is 86 plus the height of the base, and the pawns We may keep them at 6mm base, just so that everything has a uniform base height. So if we do that, that's another 12mm. That gets up to about 100mm, or a little under 4 inches, like 4 3/4 or something like that. So, did I say 4 3/4? I meant 3 3/4. So anyway, point being is that I'm actually willing to try this, and because it solves a lot of our problems. Alright, so there's one problem it doesn't solve. And the problem it doesn't solve is that these two pieces, this top half and this bottom half, can still pull apart, unfortunately. Because unless the pawns are designed in such a way that they snap together. In which case, instead of this being 30 inches, I'm just going to go ahead and let us come all the way back here. Nope, not all the way back there. Right here. I'm going to not worry about having that square pattern for right now. I'm just going to clean up the and now if the pawns overlap by, let's say, 10 inches or 10 inches, 10mm, let's call it 10mm, I think, then that is 5mm on both sides. Well, no, it's not 5mm on both sides, it's 10mm on both sides. Let's just draw that really quick so that we're making sure that I'm thinking about this correctly. So we have our base here, and then we got this guy, and then we got this guy, and then we got a base. And if it overlaps by 10mm, 10, then, and let's make this equal, not that, make this equal to that. And we're going to make this overall height our 30 that we were talking about. Then this is still 20, right? Yeah, okay, I'm thinking about this correctly. It's 10 on each because it's overlapping 10. I don't know why my brain went stupid right there. But point being is, actually, let's draw this all out so we can get full numbers. 6, and then you can connect with that. Like that. And yeah, alright, everything's connected. And the overall height for those pieces is 62. 62 is not going to work because this is 88. Yeah, the pieces are shorter, so there's no way that the pawns can overlap. No way in heck. What the pawns can do, though, is the queen, king, and knights can have a slot all the way through that the pawn on the other side feeds into. I think that might work. It doesn't work very well, but it may work. And that could give us a locking mechanism to keep the pawns in place. Because we don't have to lift the queen up the full 30mm. Yeah, all right. Let's start designing this. Stop conceptualizing it. Start designing it, and we're gonna see if we can't make it work. All right, and chess piece. No, actually, I'm not going to derive chess piece. Am I? Am I going to derive chess piece? We can't use the. We can use the base. We can use the base. We just want to modify the base. And we want to modify the base and actually make the base bigger in some directions so that the the pawns can intersect. Unless Interesting problem. Interesting problem. We may, because we're at 3/4 of an inch already on a 1-inch square. So since we're at 3/4 of an inch already on an 1-inch square, we don't really want to make it that much bigger, because then the pawns are taking up like full squares and doesn't leave any space in between them. So we may want to drop this base down a little bit. That's going to make the pieces more congested. Actually, it's going to make a lot of things smaller is the biggest problem. For example, the bishop and the rook, their extrusions are going to be smaller. We may be able to get those back in the long run by integrating them with the queen and the other pieces, by taking into account that stuff. So, it would be safer. It would be safer to make the pawn bigger, the pawn space bigger. And again, just to reiterate, the fact that the reason we're making the pawn space bigger is because they need to be large enough to connect base to base with other pawns when we have that all together. So, This is a difficult one because there's a lot of parts. Because the pawn's supposed to be smaller is my biggest problem. The pawn base, interconnecting is a little bit of a problem. So the next issue, the next solution that we have is that these bases that we have for the major pieces actually interconnect instead. At which point we're back to the issue of, well, it's not so much of an issue of the pawns locking in, because we can still do what we were going to do and just have the pawns snap in to the other pieces. That's a possibility. So the pawns could have smaller bases, and then we could just have them snap in on the inside, and the major pieces could be the one holding each other together. That's definitely a possibility. Okay, let's go with that. I am content with that. So, content as I'm going to be at any rate. Yeah. Now the question is do we derive this and then just make it smaller? We might. We got all our parameters, and then modify scale that scale uniform to 0.75, and let's see where we're at there. We're at 3/4 of an inch. We're at a little over half an inch, closer to 5/8. Yeah, that's fine. All right, cool. So this is going to be a pawn, and let's start working on this guy. Whoops, not that. I was trying to get into. Hey, where's my... I lost my component. Huh? Why did I lose my component? Oh, I never had a component. Okay. Understood. Don't save. Chess piece. Create drive. We want the component, not the body. Okie dokies. Let's go ahead and, while I'm busy not forgetting things, do that, and we will go back and scale just like we did before. Click that and 0.75, and then cop up here to the construction line. Okay, good. The construction plane is still on that face, which is something I was a little worried about, but it turns out I was worried for no reason. So we can go ahead and a pawn. Oh, that's interesting. When it scaled it, it moved it off center. back to I was a little concerned with the other ones, and I said it multiple times. What happened here? Hold on. What did I project? Project? Oh, I'm still on body. That's why. There we go. Multiple times I said I should really have something that I'm actually working on instead of the origin. And this would be why. A pawn moves forward, so I'm just going to go ahead and do a triangle for this one instead of a what you call it? Right angle. You know what I'm trying to say. Instead of a square. I did squares on the other two straight moving pieces, the bishop and the rook. And even though this is also a straight moving piece, I'm going to do a triangle instead. That does not look like midpoint. Maybe it is. 2.3. Alright, no, it is. Back to a triangle is just a weird shape. Okay. Equilateral triangle. Click that. Hit that. And you should be middle. Alright, there we go. Turn that. And now, huh, that's interesting. Why are you still, I wanted you, Control Z, Control Z, Control Z. Let's back up. Deleted, deleted. Midpoint right here. Center, right angle. Click it. Construction line. Midpoint. Click that midpoint. Quinkadink that midpoint. And now when I stretch... Why can I slide this? That does not make any sense at all. Huh. Am I going insane? I might be going insane. Fascinating. How do you... Huh. Huh, huh, huh. Well, today has been a fascinating day. Okay. Okay, well, it keeps on snapping back, so I guess I'm gonna be less paranoid, and yeah, it keeps on snapping back, so just the thing, I guess. And that should be over constrained if I do this. Yeah, it is over constrained. Good. So let's make this 5 and call it a day. Actually, let's make this what is the other variable I got? Modify, change parameters, top of base. There we go. Top of base, divide by 4. Yeah, let's keep it a divide by 4. I think that's not going to interfere with anything. I think. And now we can extrude that up. And we want to only extrude this 30. Well, I said 30 overall, right? Yeah, I said 30 overall. So we actually just want to do the profile and then do 30. Not overall, though. Overall would be the incorrect thing to say. All right. Cool. Save chess pieces. Yeah, that's fine. I don't know why I opened that up. That was a little not useful. Pawn. Okay. And let's derive this into everything else. Existing design. Okay. And I'm going to drive it into the king first. And the reason I'm doing this is because, again, this pawn is going to need to nest into the king. So modify align is what I'm looking for. The center of that to the center of that. And I could have done the base, but I didn't. So that's fine. Like that. Okay. And then capture position, we will combine for now because that is simple. That with that, it's going to be a cut, and we're going to keep tools. We actually don't need to keep tools. Let's not keep tools, I don't think. And get rid of it, because it actually just junks everything up. I'm going to... actually, am I going to? That is a good question. Nah, actually, let's keep it. Let's keep it. Keep tools. And the reason I'm doing this... where's my pawn at? Alright, Control Z. Has anybody seen my pawn? Bodies? Oh. Control Z. Okay. Actually, Control Y. Control Y. We can fix this. We can fix this. We have the technology. Double click. Not that. The component. Okay. Yeah. I don't care. Whoops. Control Z. Control Z. Combine. Missing tool bodies. That. Okay. There we go. I will keep the pawn in there because that means I have to import one fewer things into the all pieces file. And we can also as built joint this over here instead of in the all pieces file. That and that, and we'll use that line, that line as the go-between. Alright, so that slides into there. Cool. Let's save that and see how that worked out over here. Update. Alright, there it is. And let us go ahead and do section analysis. There it is. I'll just grab that wall and let's get in here. A little bit more. There we go. Minus 5.5, let's say. Nope. 5.25. Nope. 5.75. Wrong direction. Oh, is 6 not the biggest? Alright. I assumed we were going to be past it, and I was incorrect. Alright, good enough. I really should just section analysis of a mid-plane instead, but that is unnecessary. What I wanted to see is... what's the best way to go about measuring this? I guess I'll hop back over to the king for now. I wanted to see what the distance was between this edge and... So that edge is in line, so actually let me... Okay, one of these edges is probably closer to the edge of the king. I want to see how much extra meat is left inside of the model. Let's choose that wall. Yeah, so we have 0.5 millimeter between that edge and this wall right here, which is a little concerning. Let's try a different edge. Let's try that edge. And we'll click that. And it's 3/4, so that's a little bit better. So 0.5 millimeter of plastic thickness is not great. So we have two options here. We can make this smaller, which I'm not exactly inclined to... Well, we can't make this bigger. So actually we may have to make the pawn smaller, which I'm less inclined to do, but let's take a quick look at the pawn. Alright, the pawn is... That is... Alright, fine, you're not going to tell me what the width of that face is. Alright, that's a solid 3.5, which is decent. And from here to here. We have 3 on the dot. So 3 is really, I don't want to go much smaller than that, to be honest. I mean, this is pretty small as is. This may not work then. I thought it was a good idea, and now it turns out I am incorrect. So, let us, I think I'm going to say let us leave this aside for right now. And what I want to do is I want to, let me delete all this and save this. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and print out the pieces we have so far to see where we're at in terms of size in real life, because one of those things, I don't always have the best perception. So for example, if I look at this, right, and we said this was what, I want to say this was 60 something, 33. I was off by double. So that's 33 from there to there. So that's only, that means that these pieces overall are only in, well, I say only an inch and a third ish. But given, how is that only an inch and a third actually? That doesn't, because this is 3/4 of an inch, that's why. Okay. Because it's 3/4 of an inch right there, that is why that's only an inch and a third. Yeah, so what I'm thinking, and to vocalize my mumbling here, is that everything might be too small. And there's a couple things we can do there to make everything bigger. This right here, we went 3/4 of this or something to that effect. Let me just click to find out. So the top of this is a little over 1/2 inch. I believe we actually mentioned that earlier. So a little over 1/2 inch is probably too little. We might want this. And again, at this point, we're looking at, the other thing to point out is that we're looking at these bases feeding into each other, connecting and hooking together, in which case they're not going to be drafted like this. Probably. I may be wrong, but probably. And this draft may be killing us a little bit on overall, well, it's definitely killing us a little bit on overall size. So we probably want to correct that. But for right now, I'm going to, like I said, I'm going to go ahead and print out a piece and see what it looks like. And then the next time we work on this, which will probably be tomorrow, we'll see where we end up going with it. So, as always, thank you guys for watching. I hope you have a wonderful, great and wonderful day, afternoon, or evening, wherever you're in the world. And I will catch you next time.